Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. You are listening to the very special Hajj broadcast of the Mariam Mukunda show. I am coming to you live, and I am your host, Mariam Mukunda. So we are now reliving some Hajj moments, and we'll be chatting to some people who undertook the journey, and they're going to be reliving the moments, sharing their experiences with us, and what's it like now, and what it would have been like in 2020. And joining me on the line right now is Imam Sayfullah Nasir, who went for Hajj cycling and couldn't undertake the journey this year, unfortunately, due to the pandemic and people not being able to undertake. But let's learn more about the cycling for Hajj. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Imam Sayfullah, shukran for joining me.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sister Mariam, and all listeners in. Jazakumullah to you all as well for joining.
Alhamdulillah. Now, first of all, why the decision to cycle to Mecca from UK?
I often say to myself sometimes that it's a bit of enthusiasm and zeal mixed with a bit of craziness. That would be a thing. Of course, root for the Hajj, because the Hajj is a journey that no matter how you get there, it's worth any mode to get there, isn't it? And of course, our ancestors, mashallah, pretty much most of them, when they performed the Hajj, they would have done it on foot or on horseback or camelback or something. So it was clearly not like how we do it nowadays. Nothing to take away from nowadays Hajj. I mean, mashallah, we are very blessed that we can get to Makkah and Medina from most places in the world within a day on a flight. But I think it was about trying to sort of mix the journey with a bit of old school memories and having that slow sort of moment and going there and seeing what it felt like. And I think the best way probably to do it perhaps would be to go in a way that we use our own bodily energy. And I think cycling was kind of like a halfway compromise in that regard.
And how long did it take?
It took, from beginning of the journey till the end, it took 36 days for us to get from London all the way to Saudi Arabia. So, yeah, just over 5 weeks.
Oh, all right. And how much preparation went through in preparing yourselves for the ride, physically, mentally, financially, etc.?
A lot. I say this much that it wasn't a case of a group of brothers who just saw, oh, let's just cycle to Hajj and get up and do it one day. It was a lot of planning, and I have people even thinking that maybe because we cycled there, maybe somehow the Hajj was cheaper for us, and it wasn't. It was actually almost cost as the same, if not more in some ways, because most people, the idea is when you get to Hajj, you've got to pay for a plane ticket. But the plane ticket is only around a certain percentage of the cost of the Hajj. So from the UK, I don't know how it works in dollars, something, but let's say it's in dollars, if you say sort of $67,000. So from the UK, the flight is only $1,000. So you take that away, and then you consider the costs of traveling through several countries, staying in various places, and food. It came out to a bit. So the planning, I would say, direct planning, was I think around about a year or two in terms of planning the whole thing, but the product was started and thought of much earlier than that. But getting it practically possible in our time was only manageable due to current technological advances. So we had better sat navs, better phones, and I think that probably made it easier than it would have been before.
And did you have somebody following behind you guys in a car just to make sure that everything is okay? Or did you just ride through and however you all were as a group, that's how it was?
We had, alhamdulillah, we did have a support vehicle. You're right, we had a vehicle that was with us. I mean, the vehicle wasn't designed to be a cheat, just to let people know. It was really designed because in ideal scenarios, it would have been nice for us to sort of strap things in our backpack and strap things to our bike. And people do that. We actually met a couple when we were in Italy. There was a couple who were from the UK, and they had everything with them on their bike. Literally every place in their bike that they could strap something or screw something in, they had a bag, they had a bottle, they had something. So people do something called sort of self-supported rides or unsupported rides. But I think because it was the first time we were ever doing this, I think we couldn't sort of afford to take too many risks. We decided to play it safe. So we did have a vehicle, and there were 10 of us. So 8 of us were doing the cycling, and 2 brothers were doing the driving. So just those 2 brothers doing the driving, and the other 8 were fixed cyclists. So it wasn't like we were taking turns either. And those 2 brothers would make sure that our food, our camping equipment, our emergency stock and supplies were all ready for us as well.
Oh, mashallah. Now, this year there is no Hajj ride due to the pandemic, but next year, inshallah, there will be one. So, how can people go about joining the Hajj ride?
Um, I think the Hajj ride is a very wonderful concept. I think depending on which country a person is from, it may be easier for some and harder for some, which is unfortunate. But I think that's just the way we're living at the time. That certain countries they have easier access to other countries. So, for example, we were traveling through Europe, so because we had British passports, maybe it was easier for us. And maybe in some countries they're not very particular about borders and but other countries, understanding for security, they have. So all countries have their own issues with other countries and so forth. Some countries are fine. Some countries you can easily go through. And in fact, a couple of years ago, not many people are aware of this, but 2 brothers, I think 2 or 3, I can't remember the exact number, they did actually cycle from South Africa all the way to Hajj. And their journey was 10 times as difficult as ours was. And they didn't have the support that we did. They didn't have the internet, social media backing that we did. So I really take my hat off to them because they really had it harder than we did. But this year for the Hajj ride from the UK, mashallah, we've opened up the application forms online. I think so far we've had 100 people applying, which is, mashallah, very, very encouraging. But we've had to remind people that it's not like you can just think, okay, let's just grab my bike and just head off to Hajj. You'll be away from home for two months. You have to pay for your Hajj, so that costs a couple of thousand as well. So I think there are many things you have to think about before you can say, okay, I want to join. But we're going to try to make it as easy for the cyclists as possible. They will have support and, training support, and because we're raising charity money as well, so they'll have support in fundraising. And I think in all of that, hopefully, it'll be an easier way for people, because when you're cycling and you're just cycling, sometimes you can get a bit burnt out and worn out. But when you think, okay, I'm doing it for the Hajj, it's also going to help people raise money, it gives you more reason to do something. So that definitely will help. But at the moment, we've taken, I don't know how to put this, but unfortunately, we've had to stop the applications at the moment because we've got quite a few, over 100. And from those 100, we will only be able to take 16 cyclists in the end. So it's going to be a bit of an interesting selection process, because we might have people who are very good at cycling. We might have people who are very good at communications and networking. We've got to choose the people from everywhere, I think. And that kind of makes it a very dynamic and very diverse team as well.
And what was the fee from the 2019 charity campaign?
What was it? Sorry,
the fee.
So I couldn't hear that again. The theme.
The fee. Sorry.
The 2019 cycle journey. They again, that was the group itself that was supported by us, but they chose a different name for themselves. So rather than calling themselves Hajj Ride, which is, I'm not going to say that we've copyrighted it, but I think it's just sort of when you have a group name or something, then you have a specific name and identity. So they call themselves the Tour de Hajj, obviously taking a little bit of a spin from the Tour de France. And they had a certain charity backing called Penny Appeal. And Penny Appeal, they have their own charity methods and projects that they had campaigned for. And I think, I can't remember the full details of them because I myself wasn't part of the actual planning for that. But for the Hajj 2017, the theme was to try to get ambulances paid for and sent over to parts of the world where hospitals are no longer available because of wars and conflicts. So it's easier to use an ambulance, which is a mobile hospital, than it is to build a whole hospital again. So therefore, the idea was if we spent eight to $10,000, for example, on an ambulance and get it sent over to a place in the world where they really need it,
All
that
right,
could save a lot of money.
Imam, we're going to take a quick break just to sort out some technical issues with the network, but do stay with us while we try to sort that out.
Okay, inshallah. Jazakumullah.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك يا منان يا ديان يا غفور يا ودود يا الحمد والنعمة لك والجود يا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك يا لا شريك لك لبيك يا الحمد يا نعمة يا أحد يا شريك لك لبيك اللهم يا مجيب يا قريب يا رحيم يا محمد يا باسط يا
Right, I am back. Guys, please make dua for my unstable network. And if anybody else has used rain, please help me out and give me some ideas of what network I can use besides rain, because it is not raining anymore inside here. Anyways, I'm still joined by Imam Sayfullah, who underwent who took a journey rather to Hajj last year along with the 7 other cyclists. Yes, they rode for Hajj on a bicycle, two-wheel bicycle. Yes, they rode and they went for their journey. And Imam is still joining me on the line to discuss and relive some of those moments. Imam, shukran for staying on the line. Now, just share your moments and reliving those memories when you arrived in Saudi Arabia. What was it like? What was the moment, the feeling, the atmosphere, having finally made it?
The moment was a strange one because I think as soon as you got to Saudi Arabia, and you got people coming out to meet us, ministers, cyclists, professional cyclist teams they're coming out to meet us. It was a really nice feeling, but I think for me, we still hadn't got there. So for me, it was about getting to the destination, and then I'd feel like I could relax. So when we got into Medina, there was a wonderful parade for all the brothers. It was very, very emotional. They were singing Islamic nasheeds for us, live scene nasheeds. There were TV cameras there welcoming us in. It was a very nice atmosphere. People who didn't know what was happening, even they were starting to form a bit of a crowd around us. And even when that happened, I felt to myself that we still haven't got there yet. We've still got a couple of miles left to go before we actually reach the Masjid of Medina. So then when we finally got to Masjid al-Nabawi, the feeling there was, I think that's when the feelings really changed, because I kid you not, as I'm going on the last road up to the masjid, the last road in leading up to Masjid al-Nabawi, gate number 7, which is a very interesting, very long road. And I remember at the time feeling that, is somebody playing a joke on us? Is this just a big, giant cardboard cutout of the Masjid al-Nabawi? I can't believe it's real. It felt really amazing. And I think all the stress and worry, were we going to get there or not? Were we going to get there alive and safely? Alhamdulillah, on that last stretch, all those emotions fizzled away, and now we felt that alhamdulillah we got there. So then when we got to Medina, Masjid al-Nabawi, mashallah, lots of people met us there. The police formed like an escort around us because it was getting a bit heavy for us, quite a few people around. And then after a while, we then went back to a hotel. The government got a very nice hotel for us, so we were being looked after very well for a couple of days. And then after that, it was about getting back to the Hajj, because we got there for the Hajj. We got the first part of the journey, which is the journey to Hajj, and now it's about the Hajj itself. And then after a couple of days, things died down, and it was a reminder to us that alhamdulillah we got there, but we didn't get there because we were superheroes. We got there because Allah got us there, and now we've got the Hajj also to do to thank Allah for it. So we got back into Hajj and act like other Hujjaj there. So it wasn't a case of saying that we were so holy that we were better than anybody else. Rather, I would say that, mashallah, the brothers and sisters who went by other means, they were even more rewarded by Allah, because you never know who made huge sacrifices to get there. So the feelings were amazing. I think all brothers and sisters who ever get to go to Hajj and they ever get to go to the cities for the first time, it was the very same feeling. But I think just going there by bike made that all that exertion, all that stress, I think it just made that final moment just that extra bit sweeter.
And you had to ride back home as well.
We didn't ride back home, but there was a very long story behind that. Some of us were meant to ride back, but what happened was that there were some issues, technical issues, and in the end, what happened was that it was an issue. Some of the bikes as well. That some of the bikes couldn't be cleared through customs. So rather than us trying to cycle all the way back again, which again would have been a nice idea, but it was practically very difficult. So in the end, we did take a flight back. And in fact, the funny thing is that my bike, for example, I got back to the UK before my bike got back to the UK because of the issue with the airport. So in a nice ideal world, just how people in the olden days they walked or took a boat to Hajj and they would go back on the same form of transport. It would be nice, but I think physically it's asking a lot, because when you're cycling 2,000 to 3,000 miles already, that's burning you out. And then when you've got to cycle all that distance back again, it can be quite exhausting. And again, because it was the first time it had been done, we just wanted to say, okay, can we at least get to Hajj on the cycle and see how that goes? So alhamdulillah, we were able to prove, by Allah's grace, that it is possible. And I'm sure, inshallah ta'ala, since we've done it, other groups from other parts of the world, a group of brothers from Kenya, they also did it last year as well. MashaAllah, 2 brothers from India also tried to cycle as well. So MashaAllah, it's inspired other people to do the same. And I'm hoping, inshallah ta'ala, we may even have, some people even suggested it, that if imagine we have people from one country going up towards Makkah from any direction, and on the way, other groups of cyclists also meet them, almost like a little caravan. It's a very nice idea. Allah knows if it's possible, but you never know, inshallah, in the future, it might be possible to have like a little sort of a caravan of cyclists joining a big group one by one from different countries and different cities. Who knows?
Inshallah, anything is possible if you just believe, if you make the intention, and obviously make a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy. Imam, any advice for people at home who would also like to undertake the journey of Hajj?
I would say there's 2 things here. There's a journey of the Hajj itself, and there is how you get there. The journey of the Hajj is what made the journey special. If somebody said to me to cycle all that distance and not do a Hajj, I wouldn't have done it, because there were many times that you just thought, where am I going? What am I doing? But it was the focus. It was the fact that somewhere in the distance there is a Kaaba, and if I keep cycling, one day I'll get there. That kind of like helped me. And I remember in France, I was giving a talk to the brothers because by that time we were away from home for nearly a week, and it was a bit stressful. So we were telling ourselves that the Kaaba is somewhere there. We just got to keep going. So I think there's the element of the Hajj itself. Not everybody will be able to cycle. Not everybody can. And I'm not saying that anybody who doesn't cycle is going to get less rewarded by Allah. If you want to go for the
Mhm.
Hajj, if you want to fulfill that journey to meet Allah, then inshallah, in some form or other, it will happen. If you can't cycle, if a person is able to cycle, if they feel that they can, I would say that if you're planning to do something, then definitely make a proper plan of it. Everything in advance, from everything you'll have to think of on the journey, where you're going to stop, how many days it's going to be, because it's not something you can just just jump up and do. And if you're going to train for it, will require a lot of stamina for people. So I would just simply say that for people who want to do the Hajj journey, don't give up your dreams. Do work hard, but do bear in mind that it'll take a while. So if somebody thinks, I want to go and start cycling now, you're not going to start cycling, 300 miles a week straight away. It'll take a long time. And it took 5 to 6 months for us to train. So I would say, if it's what you want to do, then don't give up your dreams. Work slowly but surely towards your target. If you can't go next year or the next year after, maybe in a couple of years' time, you never know.
So true. Shukran so much for your time, as well as sharing with us your Hajj moments of 2019. And may Allah accept all your efforts and have a wonderful
Ameen.
Eid.
Jazakumullah. Jazakumullah, Sister Maryam, and everybody, Salam Media. Jazakallah. May Allah Ta'ala bless you all this year, regardless of what's happened with the pandemic. May Allah Ta'ala bless you all with a lovely Eid al-Adha and a wonderful Hajj season. Jazakumullah.
Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That was Imam Sayfullah Nasir sharing with us his Hajj moments, reliving those moments of 2019 when he cycled to Hajj from the UK, and along with seven other people. Seven other people who cycled, but nine other people who were part of the journey. And make the intention if you want to go for Hajj. Like many people always say that it is a calling. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will call you to visit his house. And if it is your calling, no matter what, you will go for Hajj. No matter how much money you have, no matter how you get there, but you will get there if it is your calling. You are listening to the Mario Mukwanda Show, and we are also live on Facebook. Please leave your comments in the comments section below and send them to us on WhatsApp. The number is 061 766 0355. Do not to stay with us.
في رحاب البيت أقسم رهبة حلت بقلبي